Hi everyone, Antelope here. Finally my really first ever video in English on my YouTube channel. And as I explained in French in my latest video, from now all my video on this YouTube channel will be only in English. I hope that YouTube will allow me to add some doubling audio really soon, but unfortunately at the moment I can't. In the future the video will be in English with French doubling, Spanish doubling, and maybe more. Enough of talking. Today, I just want to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of my free remix of CUDI, N NITE. It's been a year now, and I think I reached more than 200,000 streams across platforms such as SoundCloud and YouTube, including the repost from all the other channels. This remix has been supported by Tiësto all over the summer. I've been, I think, #1 on iPedit, this website where you can put some free download. And even more than a year after, I'm still in the top of the genre of that music. So this is insane. I'm like receiving the same email every day from iPedit, like, oh, congrats, you are in the top. And this is just insane. So to celebrate the switch to English and to celebrate that remix, I thought it would be the perfect moment to show you a production walkthrough of that remix. But enough talking, let me show you the project. So here we are, simple project. It's a free remix, so there is not a lot of stems, lot of work. I think I did it maybe in one afternoon. I just had this idea of taking the original melody of the Crookers remix, and I was like, oh, it might work with my own signature sound. So I say, okay, I will finish and I will send to a couple of DJ. And Nicky Romero was the first to play it at Ultra 2023. So after that, it was obvious that I will just give it for free. I think I will start with only the original part here. I just use REMIX from Isotope just to extract the stems. So the quality is not the best, and even the entire project is not my best mix, even not my best masters, but it's a free download. I wanted to release as soon as I could, and it worked. So today the stuff that you will see will be more production stuff because there is not a lot of mixing in that. So I use the instrument. So I just apply a little EQ to not have this strange sound that we can have when we extract stems from an original, and I just put the bass mono. And after, it's only a sidechain when there is the kick in the bridge. I use as well the percussion. We can feel that it's not sounding so great. I just did a roll off here to just get rid of the low information. I just layer it with a breakbeat that has nothing on it. So the vocal has a little bit of treatment on it, not a lot, but it has this little alter boy just in formant here, but we can see there is an automation. It's only in the build-up. Look here. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. It's just to have this effect in the pre-drop that you can hear as well in my Takeover Control remix with Afrojack. And this remix has a lot of similarities with this remix. And before you asked, I have a little surprise. It will be released. I will not say to you the date, but it will be released soon. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. Basically, what I use in the vocal was not the actual stems from the extraction of REMIX. I use an old remix that I had, even it's in MP3, so the quality is bad. I mean, there is no highs and all, but I had only that at the moment. It's the Bingo Players remix that I think has more than 10 years now, because it was cleaner and the break was with only day and night, the lonely stoners. Yes, just a little crash in the beginning and the little melody. So it was great to have that. Day and night, the lonely stoner seems to free his mind. And it worked. I use as well just a little bit of equalization This is the same here. It's just to here in the bridge. It's an automation, but basically I get rid of all the bass and I push a little bit more the presence in the mid here. After I have the famous Suzy 2, the same, it's just to reduce some bad resonance. Including some S's that we can find here. After just a little bit of glue compression, like slow attack with automatic release to have this SSL glue, it's just basically to glue the entire vocals. After I have this reverb that I absolutely love, there is also the super plate that it's the big brother of that. I use in parallel here with an Ableton audio rack. It's just to give a little texture here. And the delay, it's only for the build-up in the middle of the drop. It is just something like if you were playing with an DJM mixer in live. The same here. And I think that's it for the original part that I use. You see, there is nothing in the break, huh? He's all alone through the day and night. The lonely stoner seems to free his mind. Only that breakbeat that I had, that it's not from the original. If not, there is nothing else. But that's the purpose of one free remix. We don't want overkill the original. And me, it was more like I wanted to revisit the Crookers remix. That is the most famous version of the N NITE. Let's go to one of the most interesting parts, that is my signature synth. You will learn where it came from and all the process that I put here, that it looks a lot, but don't worry, it's not so much. Everything is here for a reason. So what I've used is a serum patch from Seven Skies, but it's totally not the same right now. It sounds totally not as the original. In fact, if I remember, the LFO and all was not the same, and especially there is no unisound here. I pull back the stereo here, but it's more something like that, with only this detune and adjustment here. And I think there is a lot more tweaks that I've done here, that it's not sounding exactly as the presets. And the big part is all that. If you take out all the effects, it's totally a different sound now. So let's dive into it. Firstly, it's just an utility here, because I didn't want it to change the output, the volume of the plugin. So to gain stage, 99% of the time, I put an utility. And even if I don't say mistake, if I open a new MIDI track, I have directly an utility after. It's just to gain stage and not have too much coming out from any synth or any sample. This process after is basically what I do when I treat synths or when I want to enhance something, especially in the synths. I use a lot this Dr. MS. I will not dive into a lot because it's a complicated plugin, but basically I took some mid information to put in the side and I took some side to put in the mid. After I have a Camel Crush that unfortunately I can't show you because this plugin is now not available. The problem of that is I don't see the GUI. But I have some rack that I saved, and I have the presets here that I can move a little bit the compression amount, the master volume, the mix, the distortion, and all. I can change a little bit, but I knew that one, I used that in my Techno 99 tracks release 3 years ago now in Music of Freedom, the Tiësto label, and I used that Camel Crush on it to have the sound. And if you take it, of course, you will say it's not gain match. So obviously we are listening now to a louder volume, but you can hear clearly that the saturation adds something. After, I have two plugins. Sometimes I use not the legacy version. It's just at that moment, I use that one. And the same as the API. Now I use the API that it's directly the EQ, but it's the same EQ. It's only into a channel strip, but basically is just lifting the low and the highs. We can't see here so much, so I will open here. You can see that it's tiny boost here and here, like 0.6. And this is gain match. You see, I reduced the output too, even if it maybe not perfectly gain match, but I need to reduce the output volume. But
it gave something. After I have 3 reverb, and I will explain you why. The first is just a simple voilà, vintage verb. I don't need to explain what is that reverb. It just sounds great, simple. I will get rid of those 3. Even if there is some reverb on the actual with this bass clef that we will dive into right after, and as well here. So I need to deactivate. So the first, it's just a bright all reverb, simple. I mean, I will not explain what does a reverb. I assume you know it. The little plate is another type of reverb. Obviously, it's a plate. And I like to combine several reverb, sometimes in parallel, so I will do some racks directly. But in that case, I wanted to do in serial mode. So you have the sound, and I played with the dry wet only. It's not another layer of full reverb that you bring back in parallel. So sometimes I like to work like that. And you can feel the blend of the 2 reverbs. It can be too much crunchy for some people, but I like it, and it's how my signature sound basically is made. So I wanted to replicate that. The other reverb actually is not a reverb that I will use in that case for the sound. If not, I will use a lot because the reverb of Ableton is one of the best that you can find. It's only to do some automation, for example here. So I like to use one reverb only to, just to shape a little bit. After I have one utility, because I don't know why, but I assume, I forget now because it's whole project is more than 1 year ago. So I don't remember everything I've done and why I've done it. But the utility, I assume it was just to win again a little bit of levels. So it's just basically a gain volume. The bass clef that you will see also in the Mixbus, but typically it's an free endless mile that I use since 12 years, I think now. But it's a free Ableton audio rack made with only Ableton plugin, and it just works. It's for that I don't use a lot endless mile. You can find it for free. It's a really great plugin that do this kind of endless mile effect. But in that case, I use that a little bit. And I mean, you can do that also with the endless mile. You can use bass in your face. You can use that one. That is the reverb of endless mile. But back in the time, it was not released. And I always like to use like just a little bit of this effect at a little amount, of course, but it adds a little bit of grain delay, reverb, filter. I mean, it's a melting pot of something, and it works. It works just great. After I have this one little Transcend Designer, now I use more the DS10 that I use in this project too, but for that synth, as it was a rack that I use and reuse and change over the time, now I will more use the DS10 of XLN Audio. That for me is one of the best Transcend Designer when you want just a simple plugin that works in the entire band. But basically I just reduce the sustain. Now I have a little rack, but it's only because this plugin, that is a fantastic plugin, one of the best, what we can call an hair EQ, just to brighten up your elements. It just works really great. The only down of this is that there is no output volume. And when you want to gain match, you need to put an utility after. And to be able to listen with and without at the same volume, I need to do a little rack. So it's for that there is a rack here. You will see how much it can change the sound. So without. Maybe now I will not use the clariphonic because the clariphonic has this more excitement stuff. So it's not so much transparent. I will rather use like a more transparent that can go really high rather than that one in this type of synths, because I have already a lot of color, a lot of crunch, even if it sounds great and it works. But back in the time, I didn't thought about this. But now that I'm seeing, I think I would have done differently. Right after is a simple EQ, but it's just to cut a little bit the low here. A boost in the low, medium, low, mid, and just to control, but really little. Like, it's like, it's a little bit more than 1 dB in the high, just when it comes too much high, look. And I push here, it's only to have a little bit more of that low, medium. And I use a cut because these synths have a lot of low, and I have a big kick with a big sub rumble, so I didn't want it to take all out but under 49 Hz I wanted to get rid. And usually I don't use linear phase because I don't like, and don't be fooled with what you see on the internet. Don't use linear phase like always. You don't need that. Here I use for one purpose, because there were low information in the synths that would be problematic within the rumble and the low kick, that if I didn't use linear phase on that, I could have some problem of phase cancellation and all. So it's for that, in that particular moment, that I use linear phase. If not, usually I don't use. Sometimes even in that kind of process, in the bass and more in the sub, sometimes I will even not use. If it sounds great, it sounds great. And you see it's more about the low notes that it appears here. Right after, I have an EQ8 that is barely doing nothing in the sound. It is just a filter that I will use only in the bridge here. And at the end, because it just filter and to not have any change in the sound, I just use this automation just to bypass the plugin when I didn't use the filter. Simple as that. After, I have the first part of the sidechain. So simple sidechain. I've done a video in French back in the days about how I sidechain, but basically the little resume here is that I do like the original compressor type. After, I will use some frequency sidechain, and I will do some LFO tools, kickstart, shaperbox, this kind of stuff. In that moment, I use compressor, track spacer, and kickstart. Now I will maybe use SUSI too. You will see this SUSI is not for that here, but now I will maybe more use SUSI too, or someday I will come back to track spacer. That works really great. And the kickstart, sometimes I will use the shaperbox when I need to be a little bit more precise. And here we will see why I have to. But basically the compressor, if I put only the kick, it is basically just a third stage of sidechain. Like it will be mapped to the kick, so it will sound within the kick. After, I have the track spacer. That is basically triggered by the kick. When the kick will hit, the low information will be down. But when the kick is not playing, for example, in the pre-drop, I will not lose that sub-bass, even this low frequency. It's only when the kick is playing. Right after, and why this is in the middle of both sidechain, I just don't know, I just don't remember. Maybe I just add this right after, and I just forget to move the plugin, but it was exported like that. In fact, there is no problem to put this in the middle. This is a simple S1 imager. I just reduce the width because here it's a little. Why I use the S1 here? I don't know. I could use the utility, and I think now I would have done that simple, but at the time I don't know why I thought about the S1 imager. Maybe I have that in my FX rack of these synths and I just didn't change it. The SUSI 2 is only to reduce some high resonance and just control a little bit. This tiny. And after is the kickstart. Now, what I do, if I need to do that, I will just use the shaper box. But basically, I have one shape, not as the maximum, but just to have this longer cut, but not as the maximum. And this one, because I like in every synth or bass or sometimes even other stuff, I want to have nothing when the kick hits, but really at this little moment. So I just use at 100% only that. But as I said, now I will use more the shaper box because it's faster, but it's more my workflow for right now. And that's it for the synths. The other stuff here is just a reverse. I just recorded one shot of the synths. And usually, I use always the same trick for this in a lot of my songs, even my remix for Galantis and David Guetta, I use that. I sample the first shot with a lot of reverb. It's a typical effect to do even with vocals. And as it's from the same synths, and you are not using a riser that you found in sample pack or somewhere, it will be more within the track and all together because it will be unique for that track. In this group, that group the reverse and the synths. I have another Pro Q that it will just reduce a little bit more at the end of the note, but as it's a 12 dB per octave, it's large okay. It will not have so much phase issue. And I mean, I can hear that there is no phase issue, so it's okay. And this, it's only for one note, but it's more controlling that one. But again, it's just a tiny things. And I have a clipper. I use a lot of clippers in synth just to get rid of the picks. Simple as that. And this I use even more Soft Clip Pro with 20% saturator in the soft clip, but it adds a lot of harmonics and a lot of color. And that's it for the leads. Now let's go to the drums, especially the kick. It is just a simple techno kick, but without rumble, because the rumble is here. So what I've done, I just did some dynamic equalization in that part and in the eyes here. It just opened a little bit the kick and the punch. After I bring back everything mono because the kick was not in mono. And of course, it's not a problem that your kick is not in mono. In just that case, I didn't want that kick in stereo. I mean, it's not a problem if your kick is in stereo. By the time that it's not a problem when you are listening into a mono and your kick is still great, I mean, you don't care a lot if your kick is in stereo. It's just matter if it sounds great or not. It's always like that. Me, in that case, in these songs, the kick was better in mono for me. I just did that, and after I have the plugin that I talked to you before. Now, even if it's a drum shaper, I don't care. I use this in everything, like even synths, even sometimes vocals. I mean, I don't care if it's kick, snare, or bus algorithm, and that's the name it's for. Drum shaping. I don't care. It's a transient designer. It works with every sound that you will put inside. So it's only how you use it. And basically, I just use the kick and natural. That is for me one of the best of the algorithm of that plugin. Just to push a little bit and reduce the body a little bit. And with or without, it's tiny, but we can feel that it's more control. What I've done too here, and I do a lot of that, is the same principle of this lead wave. I like to create my own FX within the element that I have already in the project, to not use another impact, another kick FX or whatever. I will use sometimes the kick of the track I'm doing. I will just put the kick in another track and I will put some stuff on it. Here it's equalization and reverb, and I will create my own impact. I mean, I use that technique since years now. I've done a French video on that you can find in my YouTube and put the translate. But basically, it will blend your songs for me in a better way. Even more, it will be more unique because you are not using something that is already in another sample pack or something. And it works really great. Even here at the end, I will just put everything. I used to, in the intro, I just put back the entire loop. And it helps to blend elements, but in fact, that's it. The only stuff more, it's I limited, so I use more as a clipper. We will follow to the subgrain. This is a simple rumble. The same, the EQ, it's only to the intro here. A compressor with the kick. I have this EQ just to get rid of it's a click. So we get rid of that click. And I have the same as the lead, it's just track spacer. As I said, now I will use more SUSY 2. Now the SUSY 2 technique is the Jason Joshua technique. But back in the time, I didn't know that Jason Joshua was doing that technique until I went to his workshop in Barcelona. So before I used that technique, but basically it's the same. You get rid of the sub frequencies only when the kick is playing. So it helps to glue a little bit more and have more headroom, more space, and you will be louder at the end. And after the same, I just put back everything in mono here. And for the subgrain, that's it. We will dive into quickly the drums. There is this 909 pre-drop that appears the first. That is for the little story. I stole that to Afrojack because, as I spoke about that earlier in the video, in the Takeover Control remix, I sent to him stems. He worked with me and he finished the remix. Again, it will be released soon, don't worry. And basically, in his sound version, he just put a snare fills like that. In my version, I didn't have that. So what I've done, I just redo exactly what Nick has done in our Takeover Control remix. And I've done that. I could get rid of that reverb because in fact I don't use it. And even that utility is just a simple snare with nothing on it. For the drums, I use some loop again. Normally I like to craft my own, but in that case I wanted something efficient. I wanted to go and I reuse a lot of stuff that I've already done. For example, that one, it's not entire loop. I just took this little part here. What I've done is I isolate the right section. So if we get rid of that, this is the little part. Now, with that, I took only the right and I put back in the middle. I had a little bit of reverb just to have a little bit more of texture. After I put the Dr. MS, what I've done here is to put the mid into the side because as I took the right and I put in the mono, I had only mid information and I wanted something a little bit more wide. So I just took some mid information and by a magic process that is doing the Dr. MS, I spread it to the side. It's little because I wanted to keep that, but now I have some reverb in stereo and I have now a little bit more of the actual sound that it's only in the mid, a little bit spread. And obviously there is no problem with phase cancellation when I come back in mono. This plugin is made for that, and when you know how to use it, you will not have such a problem. After I have just an EQ, just to have the high part here. That it looks a lot, but in fact, I have so much element here in the sub, bass, and low mid that I didn't need that. After I have an sidechain, simple. Simple, it's a sidechain. You know what is a sidechain. I have some fills here too. The same. Here I choose to keep only the left of that loop. Bring back in the center. Use a little bit of reverb. That time is the reverb of Ableton. I get rid of the low. Same, a little bit of Dr. MS to create some side. And this, I think I wanted to put that, but in fact I didn't use, and I forget to delete it. And now we have a loop with some claps and all on it. That it's, I think, from my Track Techno 99 as well. I just took the same element as what you do normally in a remix or a free remix. To go fast, you go the best element that you have in your actual sound, and you are using it to do a remix. But the same, I get rid of some of the low. I just close a little bit the stereo. The same, I could have done this with the utility. Now I will go more with Ableton stuff because they are working exactly the same and it will take less power. I have again the little plate that I love, a long decay but low mix here. And I have parallel compression here, yes, at 27%. It's basically, I could use the 1176 from UAD. By the time I wanted to test some more stuff, and the stuff from Plugin Alliance that I own are just great. So I use that to do this type of parallel compression. And if we put at the maximum, you see it's a hard compression, it's crunchy, but when you do it in parallel, you will keep your dry signal intact and you will just bring back this high compression in parallel. So it gave something great. It's more control, it's more glue. It just works. I will not dive into parallel compression or 1176 type of compression. And after the same sidechain, that's it for the drums. And I think there is only an FX, it's a crash FX. I will just go.
It's just simple crash effect that I use since many years now. Now let's more dive into the music bus, that it's everything except the kick. A little disclaimer, now I don't use that system. Now I will separate kick and bass together. That will go with kick and bass and drums. I will have all the music together, the vocal will be separated. And now I don't work totally, as now even all the stuff that you will see in the mix bus and the master bus, I barely don't use that system right now. Because in 1 year, everything has changed. I changed my workflow, I add some new plugins, some new techniques. My ears are much better as well. We are always learning new stuff, so don't take this system as a 2024. But little publicity, if you want to learn more stuff, you can check my Patreon. I post 1 video a week there in English. And it's more short video. Sometimes there is long video, but it's really in-depth techniques, more production workflow that maybe I will not show on YouTube. I show some project that I work for my own client as a mixing and mastering engineer. So there is a lot of stuff on there, including some product and all. I mean, you can go check it out. Like the full deconstruction of this remix will be a big format only in Patreon, and the YouTube version that you are seeing now is maybe just shorter as well. I have already talked about my new system. I have some video that talk about it, how I work kick and bass, how I work transient, etc, etc. So the music bus, I just have compression on it, like SSL type. It's just the townhouse bus compressor. It's from Plugin Alliance. It sounds really great. And back in the time, not now, but back in the time, I liked to glue all the music without the kick. But basically, it's this. I could have done less compression because now it's really compressing, but at the end of the day, this is what it gives, this crunchiness in this kind of remix that, as I said earlier, is not for me my best mix and master. It's a quick remix that is released for free. So it's not that I don't care, because it's not true, but you see what I want to say. You don't need to take care as much as it is an original songs or official big remix that you want to be 100% proud. After, I have a little trick. It's a sidechain limiting within the kick, and the same with unity gain. It will reduce even more on the entire music a little bit when the kick hits. Look. So it helps a little bit to have the kick more present just by putting down the music each time the kick enter. And that's it. After is this bass clef, endless smile stuff that it's only, I use the same at 15% in the break just to add some spice. But if not, it's only for the build up. Now let's dive into the mix bus. So not a lot of stuff, and I recommend you to not have a lot of stuff in your mix bus and master bus when you are working for yourself. If you are also working for other people to do mix and master or stems mastering, whatever, you will not have the same workflow. It's normal. As you have everything down here, you will always go directly in the stems that have the problem, or in the synths or in the kick, whatever. You will always try to go before in the mix to fix the stuff. That doesn't mean that you don't need stuff in the mix bus. You can put, but don't over process your mix bus in your own songs. Except you have your own master chain and you like to work inside the master chain. For this you can. So basically I have a little bit of width opening in the utility and some utility volume that I do a lot. For example, the break and the intro is less. The drop is at 0 dB. The bridge and the break are the same, a little bit less. It's just to give this sense of the drop is the higher part and the break and the intro and outro are a little bit less. I stole that technique to Luca Pretoredi when he was working on the Diplo and side piece on my mind. That it has basically the intro as a level, the break as another level, the drop is the big part, etc. After I have some glue compression that, again, now I'm not using that. Now, to be honest, I use the God Particle from Jason Joshua as main stuff in my mix bus, and I will add some stuff before. I use that. It's a typical SSL bus compression.
it works great. Normally I use oversampling, but due of the recording of the video, I get rid of every oversampling except the one from the lead rave here. But normally I will use 2 times or 4 times, depending of the song and depending of how it sounds. Oversampling is not always the right choice and the right move to do. It's for that in that video, if you don't hear exactly the same sound as the SoundCloud version or the YouTube version, or even if you download the waves from the SoundCloud version, it can be normal because some stuff are not oversampled. There is some stuff that maybe I tweaked for the video, even the routing and all, just to be visually better for you. And sometimes there is some little adjustment that I could have done by mistake, because I feel when I listen to the drop that it's not exactly the same. Back on this compressor, it's a simple Mixbus compression. Usually I will go more slow, but in that case, I wanted something fast with less compression, except in the big part, and I put nearly always the auto release. Why? It's simple, because I want this SSL type glue. So I let the bus compressor doing the job to have this SSL and a ratio 4:1. That is the typical starting point for SSL bus comp. But as always, you can do what you want. And I have a high pass filter. Like that, the compressor will not hear what is under 110, and like that, it will react a little bit faster. But it's a wideband compressor, so it will compress everything. Also, the sub and the bass. This is only what the compressor trigger. It's tiny. I don't know if on YouTube you can hear it, but it's more glue and there is more high. We feel a little bit more the loudness, even if it compresses more than I push back with the makeup. But we have the feeling that it's a little bit more loud because, of course, it's more glue together and we have this loudness feeling. It brings back some low levels a little bit higher. So yeah, typically it's glue. It's gluing the sound. After I have this equalization, the same now, I will not do this kind of lot of move. Even that now, I will get rid of that. It changes a little bit, it's not bad, but I don't recommend if you don't have a great pair of headphone or a great pair of monitor inside a great room to play with that. You will add more. You can have some problem that you will cannot hear, but the same, don't believe what you see on the internet because there is everything. There is people that will say to never cut. Some people will say that you need to cut always. There is some people that will say if you cut, you need to use linear phase. Just use your ears, and that's it. In that case, I use that, but I'm honest with you. Now I don't use so much of this big cut in zero latency at 96 dB per octave. I mean, it's quite a lot. But in fact, it's, in my opinion, it cleans just a little bit and it works. So enough of that. I just reduce a little bit here. It's just tiny move that you will typically do in a Mixbus. I pushed that because I needed that bass part, even low, medium, and low part here. I wanted more, and I dried it up here too. The same now. I will not maybe use the Pro Q3. I will maybe use more the Kirchhoff that have better filters. I will maybe use some other EQ, but if I do just I will auto gain and I will bypass, and you will see that it's quite a big change. It's more open, less boomy. I prefer it like that. And typically, the Mixbus is done. Now, why I have a master bus, that I call master push now, I just call master bus. You call it as you want. Is when I have my mix done that I like, it's how I want the sound. I will just push back the level as the maximum. I didn't use a lot of process here. I used analog on that one that I don't use always because I use my analog as exactly if it's like a plugin. If I don't need to use it, I will not use it. It's simple as that. And sometimes when I have big project and that my computer can't handle real-time processing, I will just not use analog. So what I've done first, it's a clip that I do always. Here I use a lot of saturation. Maybe now I will do some more arc clipping and less just to catch peaks. But in that case, I went a little bit too much. But I will just get rid of everything here. So it's volume matched. It just clipped. Simple. It's just to have the limiter that I have after working less. It's only for that. After I have this analog, so it's the Bettermaker mastering limiter that I assume you know, a lot of people know. So this is not a plugin. It's just a plugin that controls the hardware that you don't see, that it's here. And the plugin is just here to save the preset. And when you open the project, you don't need to tweak your hardware. It just sends the preset to the hardware and that's it. And basically, it's my first stage of limiting that I use in Clipper mode. But in fact, there is quite a lot of limitation because I reuse the clipper mode here. Now I will more use the Bettermaker as a clipping stuff when I use it and not as typical limiter here because I have better result now only in the box comparing this Bettermaker. Obviously it's a limiter, you have plus 5 dB, so of course there is a volume change, so it's not the same as a digital limiting, of course. I went out at minus 0.8 just to not hit the 0 dB in my converter. Sometimes I do, because my Antelope Pure 2 is made for that, and you can use this internal clipping to just have more, and after you reduce the gain here. In that case, I didn't want it to do that. And right after, I have the Ozone Imager. Basically, it will only monoize the low part. As this is analog, there is always like this little bit of stereo imaging, even if it doesn't change a lot the sound, even sometimes it's not audible. I prefer. Sometimes it will be more 50 Hz, sometimes it will be more higher, 50, 80, 100. It will always depend of the songs that you are working on. And after I have a final limiting that it's really transparent is the smart limit. I don't use the AI stuff or the smart limit stuff. I just put on just to have access to this. But all that part is made by me and not by their automatic stuff. And basically just a push more just to bring back some levels more. You can listen to Delta. It's really transparent. There is no big saturation that it's eating. Now I will more use the Ozone 11 maximizer that I love. Maybe more the Pro L2, but back in the time and at this moment I use the smart limit that I don't use a lot, and this plugin I don't use anymore. I even don't use TruePick, to be honest. A lot of engineers will say to you to not use TruePick. I will not enter in the topic of what is TruePick and why sometimes you need to use, when sometimes you don't need to use. It's another topic. It's really in-depth mastering stuff. At this time, I just use TruePick on that. And another, it's just a high-frequency limiter that works only in mid-side. Just get rid of this higher stuff. Now I will just use a DSR that works well, but back in the time I used that. But it's funny to see how much my workflow and my plugin and my techniques, everything has changed in 1 year. But if you subscribe to this channel, you will see some more recent video, of course, with more in-depth production of me, but from now in 2024. And I think that's it. The output, it's only just to check. So I have a loft meter, I have the BX meter to check my dynamic range, and I have my own tone balance control that I didn't use my own preset that you can find in my Patreon. I will put a link if you want to buy this pack. And without using it, you can see that I'm totally in my top big room techno curves. It enters as well in the future rave. And basically, it's just all the best big room techno, future rave, and all the genre. It's hundreds of songs, not thousands. Hundreds of songs analyzed only in the drops part with everything: kick, bass, drums, synths if they have, vocals. I mean, the best curve and a tight one, not a large one that you can find here with the EDM that it's really large that you don't know what it means. This is the real one, and you can check that it's really thin and you know exactly if you are in the average. But of course, if you are not totally in the middle, it's not a problem. But I didn't use that because I didn't add that preset. I even didn't create it back in the time. But I can see that my on top big room techno curves, I'm on it without checking it back in the time. But I think that's it. So if you liked this video, just put a like and subscribe. It was my first video in English, and I'm really happy to switch my channel now in English. If you arrive now at the end of the video, thanks for watching the entire video, really. As I told during the video, you can check my Patreon to help me and help this channel, of course. And if you want a little bit more, some more secrets, more in-depth subject of production, mixing, and mastering, you can go in my Patreon or buy my product, my preset packs, everything. Thanks for watching. It was Antoine Delvig. Ciao.